Hello and welcome to a new episode of Console Corner. I'm your host, Real Blue, and today's first subject is it's really touchy. I really don't have any opinions on it as of right now, but for those of you who don't know, Bill Carter, who is commonly known as Jump, has been seen hosting and working esport events of all magnitudes all over the world for the past 3 to 4 years now, and has been on some of the biggest stages himself. I've personally met Bill as well. This week, he's had two female victims step forward and release statements that had some rigorous details, allegedly accusing him of sexually assaulting or them, and because of them, there's been, I believe, some others stepping forward and having similar stories. The first one came from a person named Mavery, who's the community manager for Versus Evil, an esports company. And she posted hers 4 days ago on June 20th, but she didn't name the person. But we've seen some tweets that replied to it, and there's people who were insinuating who it was and saying that they've heard some of this stuff before. And some people within those inner circles already knew who she was referring to, and it started to leak through those replies, through those tweets, and amongst some other high-profile esports stars. I won't name anyone, but some people did comment who are pretty big in the industry as well, and say, if this is who I think you are talking about, I understand. I know this person, and I'm sorry you had to go through this. Most recently, though, this morning, very early this morning, Bria Leah released her public statement about this, and also stated that she filed a police report in November against this person, Bill. And although COVID-19 and the way the system for these types of cases works, nothing really came of it. But she's still trying to reach out to the correct parties and who and what to get to this. This essentially could end Jump's career. This could end his career if these accusations turn out to be true, and if more people step forward and say they were victims of the same actions from Jump as well. This could end his career, and it could really. It's not a good time to ever talk about this, but it's something that's been coming up recently, especially in the streaming world, which is actually the next thing we're going to talk about. But it's hard for people to talk about this. I think that's the problem. That's why things really don't improve. The system doesn't improve, and people really don't like to talk about it because it's such a dramatic experience for the people who had to experience it. But moving on, more problems for Twitch arise as large quantities of streamers decided to collaborate for what they are calling #BlackoutTwitch. This is where dozens of streamers involved in it have agreed to not stream or go live on their respective channels for the entire 24 hours of today, June 24th. This action comes shortly after Emmett Shear, the CEO of Twitch, released the email he had sent internally after the abundance of sexual harassment allegations aimed towards the site, their streamers, mostly partners, and among other streaming platforms in the past few days. This has come about with, and this is also grouped in with all the racist accusations that have come towards some partners and on the streaming platforms as well. Mixer shutting down seemed kind of suspicious after the CEO of Mixer gets called out for big racist terms, calling the Mixer partners her slaves, as she is the slave owner, the slave master. And we'll get to that in a moment. But I read both the screenshots from this email that Emmett Shears put out, and there was no talk of using experts in this field or contacting outside resources. Twitch isn't really structured to allow for solving deep-seated behavior problems like this, not just within their company and their employees, but also people that stream on the website. So I think that bringing in outside sources could really help. Outside resources or experts in that field of handling racism amongst online communities or sexual harassment, things like that. So, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of backlash has been coming towards Emmett Shears as well. I know Slasher, I believe, said that he's unfit to be the CEO of Twitch after he tweeted that out. He even quote tweeted that exact thing from Emmett Shears when he said that. But also, this is still the same guy who was accused of chuckling and said, quote, "Wow, the things that go on our platform, can't really comment," close quote, and moved on. That was allegedly in a meeting about partners using their platforms to abuse women specifically. And that was his response, allegedly from someone who claims they were in that meeting with them. And they were unable to, all the meetings are recorded, but that was a while ago. So that person was unable to find that recording, nor do they know how to go about finding that recording. So I don't know. I think one of the biggest things is that someone has to obtain these if the recordings are out there, someone has to obtain them. I mean, it just seems like that's a good idea to really understand what is going on in these meetings. I know that these meetings are highly confidential from the public, but when it comes down to things like this, I think it's time to show that meeting. Plus, if it was a while ago, I don't know. Moving on, though, let's take a look at the NBA 2K League. Let's get a little happy here. It started day 1 of week 7 last night, and some exciting matchups really put on a show for us. So let's go ahead, take a look at the scores. Grizz Gaming going up against the Tigers, and Gen G won the series 2-1. Grizz came out strong. They win the first game by 10, 77-67. But then Gen G really picked it up. Shifty Kai started making plays, and then Gen started to show up as well. We talked about this yesterday and the day before as well. Gen G's really been showing up lately. They've been playing really well, and not just Kai. We talked about, is he the second best player in the league? But, I was saying, hey, the rest of his squad has been picking it up as well. Jen picked it up, but especially Deadeye. Deadeye played really well. We'll look into his stats here in a second as we look at the best performances of the night. Then we have Lakers Gaming beating Pacers Gaming. There's a big discussion online right now about Bohio being a terrible pick. I think he was the 4th pick in the draft. He's not a terrible pick. It's the system that he is playing in the Pacers is not allowing him to be the offensive threat that he was coming into the draft. But anyways, Lakers Gaming pick up their first win of the season, I believe. It could be their second. I didn't look at the standings after this just yet, but Lakers Gaming beating Pacers Gaming. I would have bet on the Pacers there. So Lakers starting to pick things up. I think moving Sav to the point guard position and allowing him to distribute the ball has really started to help the Lakers. I wouldn't say they're playing better, but the team has improved since making that move. Next up, we have the Magic and the Raptors. We talked about this already. If the Raptors win this, they did 2-0. They tie the record for the best regular season start at 10-0, which was set by the Mavs before. So they tie that record, right? They also tie the record with Blazer 5 Gaming of most consecutive wins at 14 now. So all they need to do is just keep winning. And it seems like they're going to be doing that. Magic Gaming, though, struggling still to this point. I feel kind of sorry for Reezy, man. He's having a tough time down there in Orlando with the rest of his squad. 101-61. That is a 40-point blowout right there. Second game, not much changed. I mean, I'd hate to say the Raptors let off of the gas pedal, but we've seen what they can do. So it does look like they kind of let off a little bit. Celtics Gaming versus the Pistons, though. This game right here, interesting because here's the thing. I thought the Pistons were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They looked like that early on. into the tip-off tournament. They play really well. They had a pretty easy group, most people say. They come out of it, and they did pretty well against the Jazz. They still lost, but they showed some fight against the Jazz. And now the Celtics are looking like the worst team in the league. They are still winless. I don't think they even won a game in the tip-off. No, they did win, I believe, one game in the tip-off tournament. But Celtics, they've got to figure something out. I think it's time for a lineup change. I also don't know what's going to happen with the trade window because they're playing in their home markets. There's no studio play, so who knows? It could be like the real NBA. You know, you got to fly that person into your new home or whatever it may be. So Pistons grab themselves another win in the regular season. And Hornets versus Jazz. This was a really good matchup to watch. Jazz have been playing really, really well as of lately. The Hornets, still a strong team, kind of falling off their strong pedestal that they were on at the beginning of the season. They did go to overtime in the first game, so that was neck and neck. They end up losing both of those matches. And then that second game, man, they kind of just let things go. The Jazz really figured out how to get around them. Splashy started putting up big numbers. And once that third quarter hit, or that fourth quarter, after the great third quarter that the Jazz had, they were able to run away with it in the fourth quarter. You know, as we've been saying all season, first and third quarters, man, most important ones of this season. Let's take a look at the top performers from last night. Kenny got work, of course, from the Raptors. Leads the MVP race still. 38.5 points per game in just 2 games. When you score 101 points and you have a point guard putting up almost 40 in each game, you're definitely going to win, especially when the rest of your team can get some points on the board as well, because Kenny's putting up 13 assists per game last night. Just outstanding. I mean, that's a double-double right there. 83% from behind the arc. Kenny is just playing unreal right now. Then we have Ramo from the Pistons. He's been kind of going insane lately, actually. You look in the tip-off tournament, man, they were going neck to neck with the Nets. Ramo comes out, big plays both on the defensive and the offensive ends of the court there. Man, he's been playing outstanding as well. 17 points per game last night, 13.5 rebounds per game, and 9.5 assists per game. That's right, he was 0.5 assists per game away from averaging a triple-double last night. So big shout out to the Pistons and Ramo, playing great. We also have Deadeye from the Genji Tigers. 14 points per game, 13.3 rebounds per game, 9 assists per game. He almost averaged a triple-double as well. And I mean, I don't want to sound like an a-hole, but it's about time Deadeye steps up like this to relieve some of that pressure off of Kai. Now you got Deadeye and Kai playing at a high level for the Tigers. That solidifies them as the dark horse team, and they're moving their way up in the standings as well. They've been playing phenomenally. And then, of course, not just Splashy, but Rhea from the Jazz been playing amazingly himself. 5 steals per game at the center position. I mean, I don't know how you let the center be able to average 5 steals per game. Did average the double-double, though, with 23.5 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game. Rhea's been playing kind of solid as well. Even when their team was playing badly, Rhea's always up there playing at a high caliber. I mean, look at the game where they only scored 7.5 points. Rhea had like 6 of those, I believe, or probably all 7. Doesn't matter. But anyways, playing phenomenally right now. Let's take a look at tonight's games, though. We've got some really good ones here. We've got Grizz versus the Knicks. This will be interesting because the Knicks, first time playing since the tip-off tournament. Is Duck feeling good? Is the rest of the team huddling around him? And are we going to see Haza back in the lineup? We did see a substitution for the Hornets, so maybe that could play into why the Hornets played the way they did yesterday. We'll have to see more of them with that sub in the lineup and see how they go up against other teams with that. It's really not fair to gauge a sub player in just one matchup because it's kind of, oh, well, they just lost because they had a sub, you know? We also have Pistons versus the 76ers. Can the 76ers finally get their first win of the season? I'm going to say no. I think the Pistons are playing at a very, very good level right now. Demon JT has been stepping up on the point guard position. They've only won with him before on the small forward, but now they're starting to win games in the tip-off tournament and in the regular season with Demon at the point guard position. And he's still unhappy with his own play, he said on Twitter. So we'd like to see what he looks like when he gets going and when he starts to play at a level that he accepts. And also, like we said, Ramo, he's going crazy. We also got Pacers at Hornets. So this is kind of an interesting matchup because the Hornets, if they use that sub, it'll be a nice test to see what they can do against a team of a little bit lower caliber than the Jazz and the rest of those. And for the Pacers, this is a good matchup for them because it kind of tests their mettle, seeing what they can do against not a top 3 team and not a bottom 3 team, but also a team that's a little bit better than them in the standings right now, but is also have some struggling points of their own. And then we have T-Wolves Gaming and Lakers Gaming. This is interesting as well because Lakers are hot off a win, one of the very few wins they have this season, but the T-Wolves are very, very cold and are not playing well at all through the last 2 weeks. Weeks 5 and 6, they didn't play so well. Now coming into the tip-off tournament or going into the tip-off tournament, they were playing terrible. They didn't make it out of group play. They did have a kind of a tough group, though. But losing to the Cavs Legion as badly as they did, it's kind of embarrassing for the defending champs. So can they bounce back now? Or can the Lakers keep their hot streak in their hot hand from behind the 3 and put it up against the T-Wolves? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But let's move on to PUBG Mobile, the Pro League, which had another exciting night last night. Loops was actually named Team of the Week from last week, if I believe. Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. I had to clear my throat, but then I didn't. Anyways, Loops was named Team of the Week last week, and for a good reason. I mean, they played phenomenally. The last few weeks, though, have been just super exciting for the PUBG Mobile Pro League. We can't even deny that. I mean, I'm still keeping an eye out on 2 teams in general. That's XQ Gaming or XQuest Gaming and Tempo Storm. Here's why. Also Pittsburgh Knights, by the way, and I'll explain why them, but mostly XQ and Tempo. And here's why. Let's take a look at the standings from a week before. That's right. These are the overall standings from from the end of day 11. They just finished day 12, but look at this right here. Pittsburgh Knights and Tempo Storm both in the top 10, but are 5 matches less than the other teams that are up there. That's phenomenal because Tempo only moved. They were in 4th place before these teams played their 45th match. So once that happened, XQ, Wildcard, Trem Coretto, they all moved above Tempo. And now that Tempo has played 45 matches, they've moved up in the standings as well. They haven't released those standings just yet. We'll have them most likely for tomorrow's episode. But, I mean, Tempo, they're out there. They're getting kills. They're getting placement points. They even won a match last night. I believe it was map 4 on Vikendi, I think it was. So they've been playing great. I mean, by the time it comes down to finals for the top 7 teams to come out of this, Tempo's going to be one of those teams. Can XQ be one of those teams, though? Because they've been playing really well compared to how they were doing in the preseason during the scrims and stuff. They're showing such tenacity. They're gathering a bunch of kills themselves. They're getting really good placements as well. I think they have 5 chicken dinners now, which is kind of crazy because that is tied for second. They're with Loops, who also have 5, and the most chicken dinners goes to B4, who's also still playing insane, even yesterday. So they've probably moved up in the standings, even though they're in 2nd place, but they're playing great. But it's interesting because Tempo, Storm, PK, I think they're in the same group. I have to double check. But the other 2 teams in their group, which happen to be Coltu BGG and Alpha 7, they're all the way in the bottom 5 teams of the league. So with just 40 matches played, you can see the difference between these 4 teams. PK Tempo in the top 10, Alpha 7, and Cult2 BG down there in the bottom 5. So you can see the skill gap between those 4 teams, and you can also see the skill gap between the rest of the teams because they've played 45 matches, and some of them are struggling to keep up with 2 teams that have only played 40. But they've been playing great. Shout out to XQ as well. They're playing much better than I would have expected. But let's end the show. Let's go to the happies. First up is farewell to all the police cars in Fortnite, as Epic Games has chosen to remove them from the game after what has happened in the past month with the blatant police brutality and selfless racism killings. Other games and devs have also taken notice and released statements, but so far Fortnite removing the police cars seems to be the only huge action taken. But we, among others, believe others will take actions in the near future, although it may be hard considering taking police car skins out of a game seems much easier than changing a lot of other things. Also, congrats to Smite and all the devs behind the third-person MOBA, as they have been getting a ton of praise and exposure, especially an ESPN article written on their newest update, which is bringing skins partnered with Nickelodeon for Avatar themed. Here's to hoping for continued success and growth from big releases like this. And last but not least, congrats to Deeds from the Heat Check Gaming in the NBA 2K League for the birth of his new child. Deeds is from Spotsylvania, Virginia, and a 3rd-round pick in the 2018 draft to the Jazz, who was then retained by the Jazz in 2019. Last season, Deeds played decently despite being let go by the Jazz with just 6.4 points per game, 2.3 steals per game, 1.9 assists per game, and 1.8 rebounds per game. Deeds now plays for Heat Check Gaming, and as noted, the team's not doing so well, but having a child would shine over a team doing well or not, so congrats once again to Deeds. That's all we have for today's show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think about each of these, any of these topics that interest you. And also, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and we'll try to answer them on the next episode. Or you can ask us on Twitter at Console Pro News. Don't forget to check out the website as well. NBA 2K Power Rankings come out every Saturday, and the podcast is coming back. Hopefully, we'll have some great interviews with some great special guests for you guys as well. Let us know who you think we should try and get on the podcast. My name's Real Blue. Keep gaming, everyone.